good evening. Happy New Year. Happy 2026 to everybody watching the show. This is the Over and Over the Arsenal Women's channel. It is, of course, Richard Andreas Talk Awfc. And this is a special show. We're going to be looking back on the year of 2025. Now, obviously, it could be quite a short show because nothing really happened in 2025 of much significance, did it? Let's be honest. So I don't know what we're going to find to talk about for the next hour or so, but I'm sure we'll think of something. And if we get stuck, I'm sure you guys in the comments will give us some topics to talk about after what was a fairly average sort of year, really, wasn't it, for Arsenal women? Not too much went on. But anyway, we are going to crack on. So join us coming up on the other side of the intro. And of course, we couldn't look back on 2025 without the man of the year, Lord Andreas, of course, travelled all over the world watching the team this year. Good to see you. How are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year to all our viewers and to you, Richard. Yeah, I'm glad to be here again to look back on 2025. And I was thinking if there maybe happened something we can talk about. And I think in May there was something. We came to Lisbon from North London and we won the Champions League. It's a song we are singing everywhere we go, the only in the land. And maybe we can talk a few minutes about this.
Yeah, I suppose we might have to, really, mightn't we, seeing as it did happen in 2025. I mean, obviously, the strange thing is, when 2025 started, this time last year, Arsenal didn't actually have a proper manager. We had an interim manager, and no one could have anticipated that the year would play out in the way that it did. But it just seemed amazing to me. And obviously, 2025 has been, I suppose, for good and bad, for different reasons. It's been a year of René Slagers, of course, taking the job on after Jonas left. I say interim initially, and then being offered a permanent position in the new year. And of course, we know what she went on to achieve, obviously at the end of last season. Now, we've mentioned on this show before, I'm not completely convinced about her long term, really, for all the reasons that we spoke about, with the performance in some of the results, certainly this season. But there's no getting away from the fact we can't change, or we won't want to change the fact that that run in the Champions League was just quite remarkable. But before we talk about that, what I really want to look at is, obviously, at the turn of the year, the WSL position wasn't where we wanted it to be. We were off the top, really. We were just battling for a place in the top four. But in the end, we did turn that around and we actually finished second, which in the overall scheme of things actually wasn't too bad when you look at where we started the year. So, we didn't have a bad run in the WSL. Yes, we had a couple of bad defeats towards the end of the season when our mind was elsewhere. But I thought that, certainly at home, the home games, we were scoring goal after goal after goal after goal, wasn't we? I mean, obviously you was at all them games, Andreas, so you would have enjoyed them. I mean, we did seem to, certainly for a while, maybe it was probably before the turn of the year in actual fact, but going into 2025, we took that into the WSL, didn't we? Some really, really strong performances, especially at the Emirates, where we started to really make that at home, didn't we, in 2025? Well, we did make it at home in 2025 on a more permanent basis, but certainly on the pitch, we certainly seemed to feel more at home there, didn't we?
Yeah, I think the month January, February, March, April, we had really great performances at the Emirates. I don't remember each opponent, but it was we scored 4 or 5 goals in every game, and it was just it was a pleasure to watch the team playing. It was so floating, and everything seems to work, and and the confidence was growing from game to game, and as I said, you went to the Emirates, and and the next game was 5-0 again, and then 2 weeks later it was 5-1 or so. Even if the opposition side scored a goal, you knew we will score 3, 4, 5 goals. It was very, very good performances between January and April. Then we had this not so good time in May in preparation for the Champions League final. We lost two games at Villa and Brighton, and but anyway, the 4-3 against Man United was it was tougher than it should have been. We were 4-1 up, and then in the end we could have been lucky to win and secure the second place. But if you look back, then it wouldn't have made a difference to finish second or third, because we were qualified, although as title holders for the next Champions League. But anyway, the season ended very good at the WSL, considering the fact that we were out of the title race in October, and then we fought ourselves back and had a really good turn in the first half of 2025, and it was a pleasure to watch the girls. And, I enjoyed being a part of this journey, including the Champions League games. I think the one against Real Madrid is standing out from the others. 2-0 down, half time, 0-0, and then 5 goals in the second half, out of which only 3 counted. But fantastic atmosphere, great performance, and then it drove us over Lyon and to Lisbon. Very good.
Yeah, it was. I thought our performance at the Emirates in particular were outstanding. It's like you said, between January and April was just incredible. Really, some of those games. Tottenham was fantastic, wasn't it? Scoring 5 against them. The Man United game you mentioned, where there was 7 goals in the end, and we made hard work of it. But the only disappointment really for me was we saw in the Champions League what the team was capable of in one-off games when they had to win. And then the 2 domestic cups, we kind of just, I don't know, we just fell out of them really. I didn't feel as though we played particularly well in either of those 2 games. Of course, the semi-final of what was now called the Subway Cup. Both those games were at Meadow Park, significantly actually. I don't know whether that was the reason. Obviously, the pitch was terrible at that time. I mean, the Man City game, we didn't play particularly well, but we conceded the winning goal for them in the very final seconds of stoppage time, when it was about to go to a penalty shootout, I think it was, or extra time. But they scored virtually last kick of the game. Really poor goal to concede. And of course, the FA Cup against Liverpool, again at Meadow Park on a horrible pitch. And again, it was a really poor performance from us. And those 2 games really, when in the end, as we know, Chelsea of course won both of those competitions, and we would have played, had we progressed through, we would have played Chelsea probably in both their finals. But for me, that was 2 opportunities there really. Yes, at the time we didn't know where the Champions League was going to end, but so it became more disappointing. But even looking back now, I still feel as though that the semi-final of the Subway Cup in particular against Man City, we had a good opportunity. It was at home. We'd beaten them in the semi-final a couple of years ago. We maybe should have done better in that game. I felt that was really poor, and an opportunity to reach another cup final. We were holders in a competition. That was such a frustrating performance, really. But we'd mentioned it on the show. We've mentioned it quite a lot about the FA Cup. Of course, we're the record winners of the FA Cup, and it's a competition that we haven't won now for. It's going to be 10 years this year, isn't it, since we last won it? So another competition that's really important to Arsenal, and to go out in the way that we did, that was they were the first kind of, for me, the first kind of things that I was starting to doubt a little bit about Rene as a motivator for the team to get us through these games. And obviously we saw later on in the different competition that obviously we were capable of winning those big games. But I mean, it was disappointing, wasn't it, Andreas, to lose at home, particularly in both of those competitions where one of them we'd won for the previous 2 seasons. I say the other one where we're the record holders, winners, and we seemed to just limp out of both of them, didn't we, without really much of a fight. And that was the most frustrating thing for me.
Yeah, the Man City game I only saw on TV. I wasn't at Meadow Park, and I think Man City is one of the big four in English club football. So yeah, we were at home. It was a big chance to reach the final, but you can lose against Man City. But for me, more disappointing was the Liverpool game. I was at Meadow Park for this game, and the expectation was at home against Liverpool. Okay, let's go to the next round and have a good game and enjoy. And then it was a very poor performance. And I remember that I said afterwards that the most disappointing fact is that Liverpool deserved the win. I mean, they were not brilliant, but we were so poor, and they were a bit better. And even after they had scored the goal, we didn't find any solution to for an equalizer. Or in the end, it was sitting on there and thinking, yeah, well, we didn't deserve it. And that's the most disappointing if you are Arsenal and play at home in the FA Cup and lose 1-0 to Liverpool and have to say, yeah, we didn't deserve to win. That was really bad, and I remember this day very well, how disappointed I was afterwards. And okay, I'm there as often as I can, and 2 or 3 days later, I'm looking on my calendar and think, when can I travel again to London to watch the girls? That's what you do as a supporter. But after this game, the Liverpool game, I was really disappointed because the performance was so poor. And I remember that we said Renee is still learning, and these knockout games with possible extra time are things she does not have a plan B, or does not know when to make the substitutes, when or waiting for extra time, or should I make a sub earlier. So these were moments where she was still learning. Let's say it in a positive way. But I agree that we discussed or we were critical about Renee after these 2 games, Liverpool and City. But once again, I say you can lose against Man City. It's one of the 4 top teams. But at home, I agree. At home, you should take the advantage with the crowd at Meadow Park and go through to the final. And it would have been good to make a hat trick of League Cup finals. Anyway.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I say you're right about the Liverpool game. Yeah, you're right. Man City, you can lose to Man City. Of course, they're one of the top teams. As you said, they've got great players, and if they. The thing that disappointed me more about that game was Man City didn't have to play brilliantly to beat us that night. They were a better team again, probably. I mean, we had some spells in the game, but they didn't have to play at their best to beat us that night. And what you hope for is, you can lose a one-off cup game. Of course, anybody can. Chelsea can lose one-off cup games. Anybody can lose a one-off cup game. But what you want to see is the other team have to play well to beat you. That's what you expect from Arsenal. You expect the other team to have to play well to knock us out of a cup competition. And in both of those 2 games, the opposition didn't really have to play that well to beat us, because we were just way off the level that we needed to be in those games. Unfortunately, while at the time they were quite isolated performances in the run of games that we were having, that they kind of came out of almost nowhere, because we've been playing so well. Then suddenly we had a really poor game and got knocked out of the cup. Then we played really well a couple of games. Then we had the next cup game and played really poorly and got knocked out. And they seem to come from nowhere. Unfortunately, some of those performances have been repeated later on in the year as we've got into this season. But at the time, they seemed, and I was kind of prepared to think, okay, yes, she was learning the job still. She maybe still is to a certain degree. And we could maybe think, okay, fair enough, we'll maybe accept that. We're going to maybe have the odd disappointment along the way. It was frustrating, and particularly the FA Cup, that was the worst one, because that's a competition that I really thought we had a great chance to win last season, but it wasn't to be. And of course, as it turned out, I'm sure we would all have swapped what we did win for winning the FA Cup anyway. But at the time, you don't know what's going to happen there. The 2 domestic cups were really, really disappointing for me, and an opportunity to, I don't think why as Arsenal we shouldn't just, winning 1 trophy is good, obviously, and it's essential for a club like Arsenal to be winning one trophy. But why should we just settle for one trophy? We had an opportunity last season. We could have won 2 or 3. And in the end, okay, we won the biggest one out of them all. But we ended up with 1, as we did the previous 2 seasons. We also won 1. And it was almost like that seemed to be enough. And to me, it shouldn't be enough. We should always strive for more than just winning 1 trophy. That should be the minimum expectation, really. But anyway, so that made all those 2 cup games in particular really, really disappointing and frustrating. But anyway, ultimately, maybe it did clear the pathway a little bit for what was about to happen in the knockout stages of the Champions League, because obviously that, I mean, maybe thinking about it, the 2 previous cup games there were a one-off game, and we narrowly lost both games, and that kind of was what happened in the Champions League. The first legs we lost, obviously the Real Madrid game on that awful pitch. I mean, the Meadow Park pitch for the Liverpool game was bad, but the pitch at Real Madrid for the first leg was almost the game shouldn't have been played. It really, really shouldn't have been played, because that pitch I didn't think was safe for the players, let alone anything else. And obviously we couldn't really adapt to it at all. It was a terrible Arsenal performance. And of course it resulted in that 2-0 defeat. And that kind of was a continuation almost of those other 2 cup games for me, like a 1 cup game where we just didn't perform at all. And I wasn't expecting the second leg that we got. I don't think anybody was. But of course, the Emirates proved to be a totally different proposition for us. And I kind of agree. I mean, we'll come on to sort of some of the end of year awards a bit later on, but that's certainly going to feature in game of the season, I would imagine, or certainly going to be one of the contenders, isn't it? Because like you said, that second half performance when we had the ball in the net 5 times, and most of them goals should have counted from by all accounts. And it was just an unbelievable turnaround. And I think more than anything else, I think that second half performance against Real Madrid, I think was the thing that every single player and all the staff and maybe the fans started to believe that this team was actually capable of doing something in that competition. Because I think until then, even at half time, we were still 2-0 down on aggregate, and we played okay in the first half. But even at half time, I didn't think we were capable of getting through that game, let alone going on further. And I think that second half performance, when it was just incredible. Every time we came forward, you thought we were going to score. Literally every single attack we had, you thought we were going to score. So yes, there were still moments, wasn't there? I seem to remember when it was 2-0, they had a chance, didn't they? I think Daphne made a good save when it was 2-0 that could have put them back ahead on aggregate and stuff like that. So, but yeah, for me, that was after that game. I went away from that game thinking, you know what? I think we could do something special in this tournament. I started to believe it after that game. I think that was the one, wasn't it? That second half. That was just an amazing 45 minutes of football, wasn't it? When everything just fell into place for us. And it was just, I say, should have scored 5 goals. We could have maybe had a few more as well. But it was just amazing. And the atmosphere, obviously, at the Emirates as well, that was something special that night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the best experiences in the year, this Real Madrid game. One word to the first leg in Madrid. We were 1-0 down, and then I remember saying, "Why don't you take this 1-0 as a final result? Yeah, you can overcome a 1-0 defeat. That's not a problem in a second leg. But 2-0 is a very tough task, and we saw it. The first half was good. We had our chances, but going to halftime with 0-0, I was thinking, we're playing good, and it's good to go out with a good performance, but we won't turn it around. 3 goals in one half. No, they are too good in defending. And then, everything changed, and it was one of these games when one thing comes to another, and Chloe Kelly was she was bringing in crosses the whole 90 minutes. In the first half, nobody was there. In second half, Alessia Russo, Mariana, everybody was there to take up her crosses, and it was a fantastic game from Chloe, from Leslie, who scored 4 goals and 2 were disallowed. Just fantastic. I don't think we were more than 25,000 attendance maybe, but it felt as if there were 50,000. It was a fantastic atmosphere in the second half, and as you said, every supporter felt in these second 45 minutes that this team is able to turn everything around. And this belief came from the supporters to the team, and from the team back to us on the stands. It was a marvelous night, and I will remember it for very long. And I think this second half, Real Madrid, this paved the way to Lisbon. Not only that we came through, but the belief in the team was there. We can beat everybody. But then the first leg against Lyon came, and we lost again. And that seems to be a problem of the team, of the coaching staff, that they always need to learn from 90 minutes played, and are not able to be ready to perform from the first minute in such two-leg games. We need one leg game to learn, to see what are they doing, what can we do against them. And this, there might be a time when it will not work. But anyway, in this Champions League season, it worked, and so no reason to complain.
No, exactly, and you know, obviously after Real Madrid and the way that we played in that second half in particular, I think that although we knew Lyon's quality, you know, the amount of times they've won the competition in recent years, and we knew the players that they had and what a danger they would be. I think, I mean, I was away that weekend. I remember we was away when we watched it, and I was so disappointed actually with how we played on that day, because maybe Real Madrid had it made us all believe it was possible, but I think maybe it raised the expectations of what the team was capable of. And then when, of course, the Lyon home leg, the first leg came around, and the performance there was, you know, wasn't great. And it looked as though for a while, you know, we got ourselves back into it. We got level with the penalty, and you thought, okay, how we'd played, I would have been, you know, you mentioned it before at Real Madrid, you know, take the 1-0 defeat away. With the Lyon game at home, we should have took the 1-1 draw. Yeah. And, you know, and gone over there, and obviously we know what happened in the end, but, you know, going over there at 1-1 wouldn't have been the end of the world. But, you know, we switched off having scored the goal, and then we conceded a really poor second goal. And suddenly all that optimism from the Real Madrid game seems to have disappeared. But I think you're right. It seems as though, and in a way, it's probably a good thing that, you know, the players and the manager and maybe the coaching staff were able to see what had gone wrong in the first leg of both of those two games, realise what we needed to do better, and maybe look at how we could exploit the weaknesses of the opposition from the first game. And we took that into the second game, didn't we, on both occasions? And to me, that was a really positive sign, because it just shows that lessons can be learned, and they can be learned really quickly, because the turnaround in those two games was really quick. It wasn't like we had 3 months to prepare. We had like a week or so to prepare for both of the second legs. And the fact that was done so well, that's probably for me the real highlight of Rene's time as manager, has been the way that she was able to do that. And obviously the final, which we'll come on to, but those two second legs in particular, the way that not just Rene, because her coaching team and analytics and all these people would have been involved in it, I'm sure, and the players as well, to have to believe that it was possible to turn those games around. And that was, for me, that was obviously winning the finals, the biggest positive. But for me, that's not far behind. To you know, you can lose a game of football. Anybody can. The best teams in the world lose games of football. It happens. Chelsea lose games of football. We saw that the other week. What is important, though, is how you respond to that, how you react, particularly when you've got to play the same opposition again so soon. And that was really, really impressive, actually. You know, I know we've criticised Rene a bit on this channel throughout this year for I feel has been fair reasons to do so at the time. But you have to say that was really, really great stuff from everybody there, to particularly the Lyon game, having lost at home. I think, you know, losing away and turning it around in the second leg at home is easier than losing at home and having to go away and produced a performance that we did. And although obviously we will talk about the final separately, but that semi-final away leg in Lyon was one of the best 90-minute performances I can remember seeing from any Arsenal team, men or women, for a very, very long time. It was almost the perfect performance. And this isn't against an average team. This is against one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world, or certainly in the top two potentially. And to go there away from home when we were, and maybe thinking about it, and I don't know whether you'd agree, maybe the fact that we'd lost the first leg at home changed the dynamic of that second leg. Lyon knew they didn't have to win. A draw would have been enough for them. And I know they would have wanted to win. Of course they would. And they was expected to win. But the mindset maybe was different. And also for us, we knew we had nothing to lose because no one expected us to go through, having lost the first leg at home to Lyon. So I think that losing at home in the way that we did, although it was not a great performance and it was frustrating, maybe for the second leg, it kind of played into our hands a little bit because it totally changed the way both teams went into that. If we'd gone there thinking, a draw's enough, if we'd won at home, say we'd won 2-1 at home, a draw's enough to go through, we'd have gone to that game with maybe a slightly negative mindset, and Lyon would have knew they had to win and they'd have thrown everything at us, and I think it would have been a different game. As it turned out, Lyon didn't have to win. We did have to win, and you could see that the way that we approached that game, we approached it as a team that had to win. And of course, some of the goals that we scored and the football that we played. I mean, do you feel as though that maybe if the first leg result had been better, from our point of view, that second leg may not have gone, it certainly wouldn't have gone the way it did, but I think it would have been a much more difficult second leg as it turned out if we had actually won the first leg, because I think we'd have been under pressure for 90 minutes.
Yeah, but this Lyon away game was a 1 in a million game. It had the perfect script, and if you could give a wish list to the football gods, you would say everything that happened in Lyon you would have to put on your wish list. Let's score a very early first goal. We did after 2 or 3 minutes, and then let's score in the dying minutes of the first half. We did 2-0 Mariona halftime. And then when we come out and they are concentrated to try to turn it around, then let's score a very early goal in the second half, please. We did 3-0. And then let a player like Vanessa Gilles, a world-class defender, make a stupid mistake. She slipped and Caitlin was free in front of the goal. Let this happen. It never happens. I think Vanessa Gilles will never slip in a game. She's too experienced. She's too good. But please let her slip that we can score a fourth goal. Everything that you want, that you would wish for such a game, the perfect script. And of course we had to win, and we were concentrated. And Lyon could sit back in their mind before the game because they were 2-1 up. Yeah, a draw would be enough for Lyon, but not for Arsenal. So, yes, but as I said, everything you would want for such a game happened, and it was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And yeah, I mean, the timing of the goals obviously was important as well. And obviously the early goal was crucial in that game. There's no question about it, coming from a set piece as well, an own goal as it turned out. But the timing of, certainly I thought the timing of the first 2 goals in particular at the start and the end of the first half, that put us ahead on aggregate going in at half time. And I do think that made a massive difference, the belief that the team had. And, I think Lyon was shocked and stunned to be losing 2-0 at home at half time, when they had been 2-1 up going into the game. So yeah, that the timing of those goals, you're right, was absolutely crucial. And then, like you said, the third goal, which I thought killed it off really. And yes, we got another one after that, and of course they did pull one back later on. But yeah, the timing of those first 2 goals was perfect. Yeah, you couldn't have, before the game, whatever Renee said to the team for the game plan, this is how we're going to play, this is what we're going to do. There's absolutely no way she could have predicted or even said that's what we need to do, because it just wouldn't have happened. The chance of that happening in that way was just almost impossible. But that's exactly what did happen. And that was unbelievable performance, to be honest. Like you said, a one-off performance that, all having said that, we did, of course, win 5-1 away in Lyon the season before, not the 2 seasons before, didn't we, in the Champions League? I know it was a group stage game, not the same amount of pressure on, and that was a great Arsenal performance as well. But to do it in the semi-final, second leg, away from home when we were losing the game going into it, I just thought that was the character that the team showed, the spirit that they showed, the quality as well. I mean, some of those goals were just brilliant as well. So, it was unbelievable, really. Matthew says there, we also spanked Lyon. Yeah, exactly, yeah. We had history of doing it, but that not in the semi-final second leg when the pressure's so much higher. Matthew says not only lose games but lose to unexpected teams at sport. Yeah, exactly. We did, didn't we? We've made a bit of a habit of that actually recently. John says happy New Year and to yourself, my friend. Agneta says good evening. Hockey, taking my time tonight. Visiting a short time. Oh, okay. Well, hockey's, if that's what you want to see, that's fine. Chelma24, of course, our resident Chelsea fan, says Chelsea will win the WSL title against United on the final day. That's my prediction. 3 in a row while playing against United. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, Arsenal are going to finish above Chelsea this season. Whether it's enough for us to win the league because of Man City's, at the moment, lead they've got, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm not worried about Chelsea. I'm more worried about City at the moment. We're going to finish above Chelsea. There's no doubt. We're playing much better, so there's no question. We've got Lethal Chicken says, good evening, chaps. I'm missing the football. Need my fix. Yeah, it's going to be a little while to wait still, till we can... so we can watch some football. And Ryan is with us as well with a little football emoji as well, which is always good to see. LG says, Tim Stillman said, if Arsenal want to regain dominance domestically, they need to sell either Ford or Mead. We can't keep both. Who would you keep out of them two? Oh, see, they're both so different, aren't they? They both offer something different. And if you could maybe combine them both together, you'd almost have the perfect player, wouldn't you, still, because of the different qualities and different weaknesses that they've got. Me, personally, I've got more of a soft spot for Beth. So if I had to choose, I would probably choose Beth. I do think Beth does score more goals. She's got that, she's scored big, important goals several times. And I think in a big game, if you had to rely on one or the other, I think Beth is more likely to deliver on the bigger stage more consistently than Caitlin is, who's a bit hit and miss. Although I love her energy that she brings, I love her commitment to the game is fantastic. But it's hard to choose. But I would probably be swayed for Beth just because I think that she's more likely to bring us what we need in the big games. I mean, Andreas, it's a tough one, isn't it? Who would you go with? If you had to choose? Not that we would have to, but if we did. Yeah,
it's a tough one. I agree. But I also agree with Tim Stillman that we should only keep one of the two of them and add a younger winger. So if I had to decide, I would go for Beth too. She played a very good first half of this season, and it's not only scoring the goals, also her assists or her playing intelligence she showed this season. So I prefer Beth, and we will talk maybe later what should happen with the squad. And we can't keep every player. We must let some players go. And it's hard. But Beth also is more Arsenal than Caitlin is. So I'd keep Beth. Let's see what happens.
Out of those, I mean, sorry, Caitlin, because we do love you, but if we had to choose, it's not our choice. It's LG's have made us make a choice. But I think for all those reasons, I think Beth would definitely be the one to keep. And I think you're right. The way she's played this season as well, Beth, she has been a lot better in the first half of this season than she has been maybe for the previous sort of season and a bit since she came back from her injury. So I think on that basis as well, I mean, Caitlin's Caitlin, you know what you're going to get from her. And I'm not saying that that's bad, but I just think Beth has stepped up a bit this season. And if we had to, we would. LG says tough decisions need to be made. We made the toughest decision of them all by letting Viv go, and that paid off because it led to winning the Champions League. You're right. Tough decisions have to be made. You're absolutely right. And unfortunately, sometimes when it comes to letting players go, it can be quite difficult. I don't think so much for the management team always, because you've got to be ruthless, haven't you? If you want to be successful, you've got to be ruthless. But I think as fans get very attached to players, don't they? And it's probably harder sometimes for the fans to accept. Like Viv's a great example of that. You know, the amount of fans that were so unhappy that Viv had been let go. I think maybe even some of those now have maybe come around to the idea that maybe at the time it was actually the right decision. You know, with her personal situation at the time, and obviously what's happened since with the way, you know, Mariona came in and done what she did. But yeah, I agree. Tough decisions do have to be made, and if you want to be successful, you can't shy away from making those decisions. Obviously, Renee, we will talk about that, like you said, in January now has got some tough decisions to make. I think definitely, you know, if we want to be successful repeatedly now, because winning a Champions League, we've always said this, as great as it is, has got to be the start of something, not the finish, or not just a one-off. It's got to be the start of something bigger coming. You know, we've got to build on that, and the only way to do that is, I agree, these tough decisions have to be made. And if it means Beth or Caitlin, sorry, Caitlin, you know, it would be you that would have to be sacrificed, maybe, if that's what it comes down to. And Lethal Chickens, I think Beth was up to a game lately, possibly because she has more competition from the likes of Chloe and Olivia. Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Maybe she's just adapted to her injury now. She's had to play maybe slightly in a different way because of her physical condition. And I think maybe that's part of it as well. More competition always helps. Of course it does. You either step up when you've got competition, or you don't, and you just fade away and leave. Or you say, no, I'm going to fight for my place. I'm going to show I deserve it. And obviously Beth's done that. If that's part of the reason, fantastic. Get more competition in for everybody. That's what I say. No player should feel comfortable. I did feel a little bit, even earlier on this season, last season, I felt a lot of the players felt quite comfortable. They seem comfortable in their position. They know they're going to get selected. They're not really under pressure. And maybe Beth was one of the positions in the team that there was a little bit more pressure on, because there was rotation in that position. There still is. You know, no one's playing every single week, are they, in those wide positions? It's rest and rotation, players coming in and going out. So, yeah, that is a good thing. We need more of that maybe in the squad going forward. I think that's how we'll be successful. That's how you're successful, aren't you? Let's face it. You don't win anything with 11 players or 12 or 13. You win the big trophies by having 17, 18 players that you can rest and rotate and move players around and not weaken your team too much. That's how you're successful. Chelma says Chelsea will win all their games against the big teams. We have 2 matches with home advantage, and City won't be as tough as many expect. We're used to playing them. No, I agree. And I've said this. I think City will struggle a lot more as the season gets towards the crucial time, especially if Arsenal and Chelsea are putting that pressure on. If we keep winning our games, closing that gap, then I think City are going to start to feel the pressure. They've bottled it before. Will it happen again? I know they've got a different manager now and things like that might be slightly different, some different players, but I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I think City will find it a lot tougher in the second half of the season, definitely. And yes, you know, we'll see. I mean, I know there was a comment you made before. Did I put that one up about? Oh yeah, there it is. No way you're winning at Stamford Bridge. Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know, it's obviously coming up. It's coming up quite early on as well, isn't it? After the break, so it's going to be interesting. It's certainly going to be a massive game, isn't it? And it's going to be a great game. I wouldn't say there's no way we can win. I think we can win, but will we win on the day? I don't know. We'll have to see. I hope so. But there you go. Where LG says there, personally, I would get rid of them both, because I'm not a fan of either Ford or Beth, but I understand that one needs to stay for continuity. Yeah, and also as well, I think that I don't think you can get rid of them both at the same time anyway, and then bring 2 more players in. I think that's too much of a change midway through a season. I don't think that's the right. I think, yeah, if we have to get rid of anyone, get rid of one of them, bring in a replacement, a younger replacement, and maybe get rid of the other one in the summer and replace the other one. Don't do it both at the same time now. I don't think that would be a good approach to do that personally. But I mean, I don't think we'll get rid of them both anyway now, but I certainly wouldn't anyway. Chelma says Beth is better than Chloe. Oh, that's an interesting. Beth is better at the moment because Chloe's injured. Is Beth better than Chloe? I mean, it's quite interesting because they do kind of play in the same position, don't they? On the right hand side is where they're both maybe most noted for playing. I know they can both play either wing. Do you think Chloe's better than Beth? Again, they're different type of players, aren't they?
Difficult to say. in the second half of last season, Chloe was better than Beth. And first half of this season, due to slight injuries, tiny problems Chloe had, Beth was better than Chloe in the first half of the season. Now, it's difficult to say. I think the crosses from Chloe are exceptional. There's no other player in our squad and maybe in the league who puts so perfect crosses in. She's good at set pieces, corners, etc. Yeah, maybe Beth is the more intelligent player, and her assists or the way she reads the game has developed, and in this she's slightly better, but difficult to compare as they are not really playing the same position or the same style. So yeah, last season I'd say it was easy. Chloe was better and had more impact on the team or on the winning streak we had. Difficult to say. I would prefer to have both fit in the squad and choose which one fits better to this opponent, to that opponent. So far, we were not lucky enough to have both fit or on top of their performance. I hope maybe in February or so, when Chloe is back, then we can see who has more value for the team or more impact. Right now, it's difficult to say.
Yeah, I think they both. I mean, like you said, Chloe is, she wants to get the ball. She wants to get crosses in. She doesn't score as many goals. She doesn't get herself in position to score as many goals because she's more. She did more of a natural winger, I would say. Wants to be out wide, get the ball in. Whereas Beth, although she normally plays from a wider position, she knows how to play as a striker. She makes better runs into the box. She gets on the end of things. She's a really good finisher. She scores a lot more goals. So I think it's difficult to say who's better because they're both different players. They both got different strengths and characteristics that they bring to the team. And you're absolutely right. What we need them both fit. Because in some games you can play both of them, one on each wing, no problem. In some games it'll be good to have maybe Beth starting the game with her qualities and then Chloe coming on later or the other way round and having them both there. And I think that, it would be tough to choose. It was tough to choose between Caitlin and Beth. But I think it's almost impossible to choose between Chloe and Beth to keep one or get rid of one because I think we need them both. And like you said, we need them both to be fit and on form because that's a great weapon to have, isn't it? Either both of them starting or one of them coming off the bench replacing the other one or whatever. So, yeah, I want to see them both playing, to be honest with you. And I don't think we need to say who's better and who's not better. They're both really good players who have won the biggest tournaments for Arsenal, for England, and they've both got great qualities that we need. So I don't really think about who's better or who's not better out of those two. I want them both fit and playing because they're both so important for us and they've both got a lot to offer. So yeah, I want them both to be playing, absolutely. It was Chalmers there said Beth's better than Chloe. Well, yeah, I would say she's better. 170 says Beth is maybe the only player who has improved since the end of last season. That's a good point, actually. That is a good point when you think about it. I mean, obviously, Beth has improved since the end of last season. Absolutely. Is anybody else actually thinking about it? That's quite interesting, actually. I'm not sure if anybody else has improved. I think you're right.
Kyra has fitted in the team.
Yeah. She's played more, I suppose, with Kyra, hasn't she? She's played more, so that's maybe enabled her to play better. Yeah, maybe Kyra's another one, actually. Yeah. But I think you're probably right, actually. Maybe the Champions League has created maybe a bit of a hangover in a lot of the players and they haven't quite managed to reach the heights that they can this season. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we've maybe struggled a bit for consistency. Chalmers says we might end up playing you 5 times in the second half of the season. Yeah, and we might end up beating you 5 times in the second half of the season, which would be nice, wouldn't it? But whether that happened or not, I'm not sure. But anyway, let's see. LG says we made a mistake of not starting the rebuild this past summer. I feel both of them on borrowed time at Arsenal, but we can't get rid of them both. Yeah, no, I agree. We've sort of said that before, didn't we? That last summer was a big opportunity, having won the Champions League, to just go mad and bring in everybody. Everybody would have been dying to play for Arsenal. Still probably are, but that was a big chance. You're right. We should have started it a lot. Yes, okay, we got Olivia Smith in, and she's a great player, but yeah, we needed to really start a big rebuild last summer. And now we're in January, and you don't rebuild your team in January, do you? January is just you're piecing a couple of bits together to get you through the second half of the season, aren't you? That's what you're doing. And yeah, we maybe did miss a trick there. You're right. I kind of agree with you. John says, Chloe, yes, best crossing in the league. Media's good at getting in a box and getting decent shots. Very different styles of play. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. They are totally different. And again, a bit like we said about Caitlin and Beth, if you could combine Chloe's strengths and Beth's strengths into one player, then that would be a pretty decent player, wouldn't it? Let's be honest. Probably one of the best players ever. Ryan says, I think Chloe is good at whipping the crosses in, but our forwards are not suited at connecting with. Well, yeah, we don't get on the end of enough of them. You're right. But those crosses are just fantastic, aren't they? LG says, Chloe is the better choice because she is younger and more clutch. Well, she's younger, slightly younger, but yeah, I don't know. I think Beth has had big moments in big games plenty of times as well. Look at last Euros. She was the player of the tournament, top goal scorer in the Euros 2022. Yes, that was a few years ago now, but she's always had moments in big games. In the Champions League final, the assist for the winning goal. You know what I mean? She has big moments, Beth, as well. I think Chloe's more of a superstar in women's football, in the sense that she's at all the glamorous events, and because she's I don't know what to say. Maybe because she's more easy on the eye, maybe than Beth, that she gets more opportunities for things like that. So she's in the public eye more. So she's more famous, I suppose, in a sense. She's outside of football. A lot of people outside of women's football know who Chloe Kelly is because she's appeared on magazine covers and she's done a lot of other things in the same way as Leah Williamson, whereas Beth Mead keeps herself more in the background. She doesn't get involved in much of that sort of stuff really, and all Beth Mead's focused on is the football. So I think that when Beth Mead does something great, it almost isn't quite as highlighted. When Chloe Kelly does something, everyone makes a big deal out of it because she's Chloe Kelly and she's more of a superstar. A bit like I've always looked on Chloe Kelly being as a little bit like David Beckham was back in the day when he was so famous. Whatever he did was in the papers, whatever he did was on the telly, in the news, and it's a bit like that with Chloe Kelly obviously on a women's football perspective, so it's smaller, but it's more like, isn't it? Chloe Kelly gets all that same kind of publicity, whereas Beth doesn't, because that's not the type of person that she is. But she's had just as many probably more big moments in her career than Chloe Kelly's had. Chloe Kelly had a couple of big, obviously scoring the winning goal in 2 Euros finals is pretty special. Not many players get to do that, but her moments have been less in her career, those sort of moments, whereas Beth's had loads of them really when you look at it, what she's achieved, what she's done, and the big moments that she's created. So I don't know. I think Beth goes under the radar a little bit too much because she's not as... I don't know, she's not such a big superstar, is she? She's just a great player and she's a great personality and people like her. But Chloe Kelly's like, almost like the supermodel of women's football, isn't she? To a certain degree. And, she's always it's going to look like she's maybe doing more than Beth is, when I don't think that's necessarily fair. Cheryl says there, Beth is more complete all-rounder. Chloe's game is just crossing and penalties, but a quality left-back can neutralise her. Beth, on the other hand, can solve problems in multiple ways. See, that's the Chelsea fan saying that, and I actually agree with that. I mean, I think you're a little bit harsh on Chloe, to be fair. I don't think she is just about crossing and penalties. I think there is more to her game than that, but you're right about Beth, absolutely. And we said that before, her intelligence her football intelligence is far greater, probably than most players anyway in the world, I think. And you're right, she solves the problems and she can offer more. She's got more versatility to her game, hasn't she, Beth, than Chloe has. Chloe, I wouldn't say Chloe's one-dimensional, but her strengths are quite obvious, whereas Beth does a lot of things that go unnoticed, but she's really good at. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. Definitely, I think that's true. Matthew says our midfield especially needs rebuilding. Yeah, well, we've known this, haven't we, for a while now, and let's hope January brings us a few treats that we need. Chelmer says, don't forget you can lose all 5 games as well. No, we're not going to think about that, are we? You're right, of course, we could lose all 5. I don't think we've said this before. If that did happen, I don't think either team would win all 5 games. Either of us would. I think there'll be a couple of wins thrown in, a draw thrown in, something like that would happen probably. But it could be a couple of draws actually. Sioma says, "Do you think Chloe is better than Joanna Wright in Canarid?" Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I do really rate Canarid. Actually, well, but Andreas, do you think that Chloe is better than Canarid? It's tough to actually, because I have to really like Canarid. I think she's a great player.
Yeah, you have to compare the Chloe from last season when she was 100% fit with Canarid, and then I'd say Chloe is better. But this season it's no question Canarid had more impact on Chelsea and was better in the first half of this season for obvious reasons. But anyway, all respect to Johanna Canarid. She's really a great player. And when she first signed for Chelsea, I didn't think that she would get a lot of minutes or game time there. And I underestimated her, to be fair. And she has really big impact for Chelsea and is a very, very good player. And as I said, this season, she was the better player compared to Chloe due to all the slight injuries or etc. But both great players, and with all respect to Johanna Canarid.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she's a very good player. Yeah, and again, maybe what we said about Beth, I think maybe Canarid scores more goals than Chloe Kelly. She's got more of a goal threat in her, hasn't she? And again, a slightly different type of a player, but yeah. I don't know. I would obviously go with Chloe just because she's Chloe. She plays for us and she plays for England and stuff. Whereas, obviously, Diana plays for Chelsea. So, but again, she's a great player as well, as you said. Ryan says Chelsea could draw the 5. Well, exactly. Well, if Chelsea was to draw the 5, then we would draw them as well. There wouldn't be. That's the only thing. Which not really what is it? Matthew says I also like Chloe's aggression. Yeah, exactly. You need a bit of that, don't you? Chelmer says, give Serena a fully fit choice, a fully fit Beth. Who do you think she's starting? Well, I think if both are fit, I think she starts Beth because Serena loves Beth. And I think, we've seen even in the Euros when obviously Beth was fit. Well, was she fit? I'm not sure. Even when she wasn't maybe totally fit, Beth, she was still playing ahead of Chloe starting. Chloe was coming off the bench a lot, wasn't she? So, I think Serena would pick Beth because Beth's one of her favourites. Understandably so, because of what Beth's done for England under Serena's management. What she's achieved, what she's brought. So, but I think Serena would definitely go with Beth. I don't think there's much doubt about that. Lethal Chicken says Beth for sure. We all know Serena doesn't like too many changes. Yeah, I'd say just one of her favourite players, so it's not surprising. Chelsea says Chelsea will be signing Trinity to compete with Joanna Wright and Kennerin, but I'm not sure if the transfer will happen. Well, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen, does it? You won't get it, will you? LG says Beth Mead currently reminds me of Trossard, written off when the season started, but probably the best of a bad bunch this season. But still not good enough if the club wants to progress. I agree with that last bit. I think that, if the club wants to progress moving forward, we need better than Trossard and Beth Mead, probably. But, you may be right. I mean, is that a fair comparison? Yeah, to a certain degree, it probably is. I think Trossard's probably had a bigger impact this season for the men's team than Beth has for the women's team in different ways. Maybe he scored more goals and whatever. But, I suppose that's probably a reasonable comparison, maybe. But of course, you can't compare the men to the women. Kenny, we're not allowed to do that. So we were not going to. But I kind of get your point. So of course, after all the fun and games of the semi-final against Lyon, it did of course lead only to one place, didn't it? Lisbon, of course, in May. And wow, I mean, we talked before about the one-off games that we hadn't turned up and performed in earlier in the season, and even like the first legs of the two knockout games where we'd been poor first time, and I remember people sort of laughed, "Oh, we don't get a second leg against Barcelona in the final. We've got to do it on that one game. That's all we've got." And the team and the management and the coaching staff and everybody kind of showed, didn't they, that what, they can do it when they have to in a one-off game when it matters, because everything about that, you mentioned before that's about the Lyon game where everything kind of went perfectly. In the final, it was another occasion where tactically we got it absolutely spot on, and the players carried out that tactical plan absolutely almost to perfection. Very, very. We knew that we couldn't afford to make too many mistakes against Barcelona because we would have been punished. We could easily, they can score 3 or 4 goals in a flash, and it's all over by us making a couple of silly mistakes. But yes, I'm not saying we didn't make any mistakes, because we did. We made a few mistakes in the game, but overall, that couldn't have gone any better in terms of a tactical masterclass from Rene, and the way the team carried it out. Every single player, the 11 that started, all the subs that came on, every single one of them probably gave the greatest individual performance that they could possibly have given. Every single player who played that day. And it was just incredible to witness that game, witness that performance, the way every single player we were like, what that game was for me, it was Arsenal was a team that was, everything we did was as a collective.
Yeah.
They look like a bunch of individuals, whereas we look like an actual team that was all together. Everybody, it was almost like we were tied together on a bit of rope, and everybody did. When somebody went somewhere, someone covered for them straight away, and when we lost the ball, straight away we were on it to try and win it back. And the defending that we did was just unbelievable. Leah Williamson's performance in that game was just incredible. Not just her. I mean, I don't just want to single out her, because every single one of them was, but the way that she organised that back line, the way that she put everything into defending that penalty area on that particular game, it was just incredible. Every single player from, I say, 1 to 16 was just incredible. I mean, I was actually shocked how well we played, how well we committed to that game plan, and how well we carried it out, because we were all worried. I remember I was talking about it in the build up to the game, saying, it could be quite difficult watch for us. We could easily be 2 or 3-0 down in the first 10-15 minutes, and it's all over. And as it turned out, the longer and longer the game went on, I think we all started to get a lot more confident, didn't we? That, what, it's still 0-0. We've got a chance. And obviously, we know what happened later on when Stina came on and Beth came on and absolutely changed that game, and gave us moments that we'll never forget. Obviously, Andreas, even more so for you being there in the stadium to actually witness it. But it was just that performance was just, it was almost, Lyon was fantastic, and you won't get much better than that. But that performance against Barcelona, it almost took your breath away how well we played. Just incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not only the perfect game, it was the perfect weekend for us supporters and for the team. Everything went perfect, and I would still say Barcelona was the best team in this last season, the best team in Europe. And we had one point is they underestimated us. All the interviews you heard from them, they expected Lyon as their opponents in the final. They were surprised to meet Arsenal, and the next step was they were surprised that we made it to the final, and they thought, okay, it's only Arsenal. We only have to beat Arsenal. We have beaten Chelsea 4-1 in 2 legs, and Chelsea is finished the league 10 points ahead of Arsenal. So this shows Chelsea was the better team, and we have beaten them easily. So what's this Arsenal about? We are coming to Lisbon just to collect the cup, and of course we have to play 90 minutes, but it's only a matter of of time until we score. And this was their mentality. And I would not say they were not concentrated or they didn't try to play at their best, but you have this in your mind. And if you expect to go out and win relatively easily, then it's difficult if a team like Arsenal plays at not only 100% but nearly perfect. And we scored 2 goals. We scored one in the first half, which was disallowed due to offside, and we went in halftime with 0-0. And so with every minute, as you said, our confidence was growing, and the players realized our game plan is working. And what we heard after the game, their preparation for this final was so perfect, so intense, and everything worked out what they had planned, what the coaching staff, what Rene worked out. And there were discussions between Rene and the team before the game, and when the more experienced players said, we don't think that this will work, let's try something different, and they adapted to what the players said in preparation of the game. And and then when you are on the pitch and see everything what we thought works, and this, we have a chance, and you go into the second half and you still have a chance to win. So with every minute our confidence was growing, but on the other hand, you have to say the way Barcelona played in the second half, the pressure was rising, and they had more and more ball possession, and you can't defend everything from Barcelona. Of course, they had their chances, they had their moments in our box, and I thought the longer the game goes, they will probably score. But then finally we scored, and as I said before the final, it's impossible to beat Barcelona over 2 legs. Yeah, if this was a final over 2 legs, we win the first leg 1-0 with a perfect performance. I think if there would have been a second leg, then Barcelona would have beaten us 3-0, 4-1 or something like that. It was just this one day, this one moment when everything worked perfect. And I agree, Leah Williamson had one of the best performances of her life, of her career. She was fantastic, but everybody was working. You remember this tackle from Caitlin Ford when she celebrated a tackle in her own box? And this was significant for the whole performance, for the whole team. Everybody was working for the others, and if one made a mistake or lost the ball, then the other was there trying to win the ball back or to close the gap in defense. And then when we scored, it was still 12 or 40 minutes to go. The most hardest minutes I had for a very long time. 7 minutes of stoppage time. But in the end, there were chances for Barcelona, but we managed to keep them away from our box as much as possible. It's impossible to keep them away from the box for 90 minutes or to prevent them from creating chances. That's not possible. But as much as possible we did, and everybody was on top. You can't mention only 1 or 2 players. Daphne, who was injured in the weeks before, I think she missed 4 or 5 games before the final, and we know that she was not 100% fit. She got pain injections, etc. But she was playing and performing well, and so it worked out. And I will never forget this game and the final whistle. And a friend of mine was sitting a few rows behind me, and he made a photo the moment when the final whistle came, and I was jumping up and celebrating, and he made a photo just in this moment. So unforgettable. And then the celebration after the game when the team came to us, and we were singing together North London Forever with the team. So unforgettable. Everything perfect on this weekend.
Yeah, it was just incredible. Absolutely was. Lethal Chicken says Barca beat Chelsea 8-2 over 2 legs. Yeah, exactly. They did. And for us to keep a clean sheet against them as well, and I kind of agree. I thought, yeah, you're right. Before we scored in the second half, Barcelona were building up ahead of steam, weren't they? You could feel we were dropping a bit deeper and they were putting us under more pressure. They wasn't having lots and lots of good chances, but you could feel that pressure was mounting, and I was starting to think, the goal's coming here. Barca are going to score sooner or later. But then once we did score, which was maybe although we had another opportunity just before that, didn't we, on a counter attack as well, where we almost scored before that. Yeah. And then we got the goal. And although you're right, Barcelona obviously threw everything at it at the end, I actually felt fairly confident that we were going to hang on. I don't know why. I just couldn't see Barcelona equalising. I don't know why I felt that. I know it wasn't as straightforward as that. It was nervy and it was tense and it was quite edge of your seat stuff. But I felt once we scored, at the point that we did, like you said, 12, 15 minutes to go, whatever there was, and plus all the stoppage time they found from nowhere to try and help Barcelona out, I never really felt that we were gonna not hang on. I just felt we would. I don't know why, maybe because of how well we defended it. Maybe it was you just thought it's our day. Obviously, it's clearly our day because the way that game had played out up to that point, it's our day, obviously, and we got the goal, and that was, incredible. And of course, we can't not talk about the goal, in particular the goal scorer. Of course, who's probably my favourite player still. And it's not just since she's been at Arsenal. I wanted us to sign Stina when I've seen her play for Sweden before in tournaments and stuff, and so she's been my favourite player since we signed her. So for her to it was her that scored the winning goal again in the cup final. For me, it couldn't have been any more perfect, really. I wouldn't have cared who scored, to be honest. The winning goal in the Champions League final, you don't care. But the fact that it happened to be Stina, all the stick that she takes, a lot of times, people not giving her the credit I think she deserves, and for her to put that one away when it mattered, people say, she doesn't score the big goals, she doesn't score in big moments. Well, she scored in 3 finals in a row. She's won the Champions League final. She scored so many big goals, semi-finals and everything else. So, she does step up when it matters, and she did in that game. And I couldn't have been more happy for her more than anything else because of, she struggles to get a regular place in the team. But every time she comes off the bench, she performs to her best of her ability. A lot of players would sulk. They wouldn't be able to perform to that level because they're not playing regular enough. She comes off the bench. She's always making an impact. The amount of times she's got player of the match coming off the bench because she's done something amazing, like she did in the Champions League final, she did the other day. And I don't know, I just feel that, people need to give Stina more respect. She probably won't be starting as many games because Leslie is the number 1 striker for us. We know that. And Stina has to bide her time and get moments here and there. But I think she deserves a lot more respect than maybe she gets sometimes. She's going to miss a few chances. Russo misses loads of chances. You know what I mean? That's the nature of it. But yeah, for me, it couldn't have been any more perfect that it was Stina that scored the goal. And as she had done the year before in the final against Chelsea in the Continental Cup. Greg says, Ohio, Chelsea finishing 10 points above us doesn't prove they're a better team. It proves they're the luckiest. It's about time referees stop by. Well, I think 10 points is a little bit more than just luck. Luck maybe made it 10 points. I agree to a certain point. But anyway, Chelmer says, sure, we've been lucky 6 times in a row. Well, yeah, that's fair enough, really. Maybe 4 or 5 of them you've been lucky. Maybe not all 6. We might give you 1. But I'm not sure. And Ryan says, who scored the goal? Yeah, exactly. Who did score the goal? Greg says, you're not lucky, but break all the rules. Well, yeah, exactly. Chelmer says, we'll meet over 2 legs. Yeah, we will probably. That'll be quite exciting, won't it? Let's be honest. But yeah, so, we could have played you in the final of the Champions League if you hadn't conceded 8 goals to Barcelona, So, that's your own fault. But it didn't matter because we played Barcelona and we showed it's possible to beat them. And we beat them and we deserved to beat them on the day as well, I thought, for the performance that we gave. And I think even Barcelona, they might not want to admit it, but I'm sure they even agree that Arsenal deserved to win that game. We deserved to win the Champions League for those 3 performances against Madrid, Lyon and then Barcelona. And, you know, the only frustration now is, as we said before, is that I don't feel we've built on that enough. That brilliant success that we had, you know. But anyway, 2025 will always be remembered for that particular moment, won't it? That game, that run, that trophy, and all the celebrations that followed, not only in Lisbon but obviously at the Emirates as well a couple of days later. So whatever else has happened in the year almost pales into insignificance, really, doesn't it? Let's be honest. You know, winning the Champions League is the ultimate, isn't it, for any club side, the top sides. Everybody wants to win the Champions League. You know, personally, for me, winning your own domestic league is a bigger achievement, I think. But as a player and probably managers and coaches and staff and everybody else, I think that winning the Champions League is what they all aspire to do. And we did it. And we did it the hard way as well, you know, coming from behind all those times and then beating the best team in Europe, the best team by quite some distance as well in Barcelona. To beat them in the final was just incredible. And once again, against all the odds in a final, against, you know, we didn't start as favourites, did we? Again, 3 finals in a row. We were the underdogs and we've come out on top. And yeah, incredible. That will never be forgotten, will it? It will never be forgotten. And I'm really pleased because, you know, I know we won the Champions League under its previous incarnation when it was nowhere near the same tournament. You can't compare it. You know, obviously I'm happy to say we've won the Champions League twice, and we have technically, but for me, the difference in the two competitions, it's almost difficult to compare them, isn't it? We've now won the proper Champions League, you know, with a group stage, 2-leg knockouts and a final, and all those teams that are in it. So to me, now we can say definitely we've won the Champions League. The UEFA Cup, whatever it was called before, UEFA Women's Cup it was called, wasn't it? Technically, it's the previous incarnation of this competition, but now we can say we have actually won the Champions League, and no one else in England can say that. So it's brilliant, and yeah, I'm glad that it was. We've done it in the modern era as well. You know, it's all very well doing it historically, it's great. But now we've done it in the modern era as well, when everything's so much more difficult to win. The quality of the football so much higher. There's so much more better teams all round that you've got to beat. And the fact that we've done it will be that's the pinnacle now, isn't it? But it needs to be the start of something I said before. Joe says there, what a summer of football we've had. I've never been happier. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's unbelievable to think that 3 or 4 weeks after Lisbon winning the Champions League, Arsenal winning the Champions League, England somehow pull it out of the bag and win the Euros for the second time. It was an incredible few weeks of football, wasn't it, for us? And it was amazing, really, to think that at the start of 2025, never have thought either of those two things would happen. I didn't think England would be capable of winning the Euros again, and I certainly didn't think Arsenal could win the Champions League, and we ended up doing both in a few weeks in the summer. Incredible. What an incredible summer it was, as you said. Summer that we'll never forget, really, for all of those great memories. And of course, you know, the Lionesses, a lot of our players played a big part, didn't they, as well, which is even better, isn't it? You know, one of our players scored a winning penalty in the final. One of our players made sure that we didn't get knocked out in the earlier stage with the late equalisers and stuff like that. You know, couldn't have gone back, could it? And of course, our captain, captain again, lifting the trophy twice. Incredible. The only England captain ever to lift 2 trophies, you know, and she's been honoured in the New Year's honours list as well, quite rightly so. You know, she should have maybe got more. She should be like Dame Leah Williamson, really, shouldn't she? Let's be honest. But anyway, incredible. Greg says, if we don't sign anyone, 2026 will be the same as before the break. Not holding that much. So I think we will sign. We'll make a signing. I don't have much doubt about that. And Selma says that the real question is who takes the top 3 spot between you and United with their new signing. You might be the one. No. What you want to be asking yourself is who's going to come top? Who's going to come third out of Chelsea or Man United? We're coming at least second or first. We're finishing above Chelsea. I've got absolutely no question, no doubt in my mind, no doubt at all. But anyway, we will see what happens. We'll see how that plays out. So, of course, you know, the Champions League, I say, has overshadowed everything else, as it rightly should. You know, as I say, it's the pinnacle of club football, isn't it? And that was such a great day, such a great achievement as well for this team, for a very, very young manager starting out at a top level. I mean, what a start that is for her. You know, I say we've criticised her plenty of times this season for 1 or 2 things, but you have to say, as a young manager or head coach, to achieve that success so quickly, it is incredible, really, isn't it? It is incredible, but it's not going to be. She as well. Obviously, we as a club need to build on it, but I think her herself as a manager needs to learn a lot from that and be able to build on that herself and take her own career forward as well, whether it's with Arsenal, whether it's elsewhere later on. I mean, it's quite incredible, isn't it? Not many managers can have come into a big club as a big job, you know, from being an assistant at the start of the season to taking that role on and winning the biggest competition of all. I mean, it kind of, I don't know if it's ever happened before in a women's game. In the men's game, everyone, I can remember when was it Di Matteo at Chelsea kind of did a similar thing, didn't he? Come in later in the season and end up winning the Champions League. But it's really, really rare. And has it happened? Do you think it might have happened too quickly for Renee? Really, or do you think that maybe it's a good time for, because she's still got a load of years left in her to learn and build, and or has it maybe come too early? And it's like, how do you top that? How do you top that now? You know, at a very early part in her career, it must be tough for her as well, though, mustn't it?
Yeah, that's right. To top it is nearly impossible, but success never comes too early. You can't say, as a manager, I want to work 10 or 15 years and then I want to have the big success. You can't plan success. No, it's not possible. So if the chance is there, then grab it. And that's what she did. And nobody can take it away from her CV now. She's forever a Champions League winning head coach or manager. And that's, yeah, she has to build on this, yes. And hopefully with the Arsenal, but anyway, she's still so young, and maybe we'll see her as a national coach of Netherlands or what else. Let's see, but you can't say it's too early. No, if the chance is there, you have to grab it, and that's what she did. She built the team and prepared everything perfect for this one moment, and. She deserves the credit of having won the biggest trophy in club football. But now we were critical in the last weeks or month as the build-up in this season was not the best. And we always said she's still learning, yes. But anyway, the Champions League, it's forever in her CV. And even in 10 or 20 years, when she looks back on her career, she can say, I won the Champions League with Arsenal. That's not many managers can say this.
No, that's true. What I kind of mean is that she's now got, I think, more pressure on her to keep achieving, because now people will always say, won't they, if she goes another season, 2 seasons without winning a trophy, then people are going to start to say, you know, she won the Champions League. Why hasn't she been able to do anything else? Why can't she repeat it? Why can't she do it again? And I think that's a lot of pressure for a young manager that hasn't been able to achieve much yet. And it's a great starting point. And you're right, it's never too early to win anything. Win what you can while you can. Absolutely, I agree. But I think for her, the pressure is now put on her to keep achieving. And I think that's you know, I think maybe if you've been in the job maybe longer, not necessarily just at Arsenal, but if she'd been a manager longer, she'd maybe been at a few clubs or maybe won a few little cups here and there, then I don't think the pressure's quite as much as then going in and winning the Champions League. I think having that as your first trophy, your first major trophy. I mean, yes, she's won in, you know, lesser leagues, I suppose, in Europe, but to win that as your first major trophy, I do think that's a lot of pressure to live up to, and I think that's going to make it difficult for her. I hope that she can overcome that and she can actually prove that it wasn't just a one-off and that she is capable of coaching a team in those type of games regularly again and doing it again this season or next season, whenever, and more consistently domestically. But yeah, I do think that she's put a little bit more pressure on herself by doing it. I'm glad that she has, but I think it's a big test for her. The next few years are going to be quite, unless she starts having success again, winning the WSL or start winning bigger trophies coming up as well in the next few years, then I do think there's going to be the pressure will be greater because of what she has achieved already. And I think that's, you know, I think if you don't win anything, if she'd come in, she didn't win anything last season, she didn't win anything this season, I think people would be like, well, she's quite inexperienced at the top level, we'll let her off, almost excuse her a little bit, make excuses for her. Whereas now she's won the Champions League, there's no excuses you can make. Well, she's won the biggest trophy of all, so why can't she do it again? Why can't she win a WSL? Why can't she do this? Why? And I think these are questions that rightly people are going to ask, and I do think it puts more pressure on her, but let's hope she's able to live with that and deal with it, and and go on and achieve even greater success. Serena's shown, hasn't she, that she's gone on and won 3 Euros in a row now. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing that Renee needs to do. She needs to build on it, success and success and success, and that's what I think is going to be the big test for her. And let's hope she can do it. John says there, Arteta didn't do that well in his first 2 seasons. He was kept and learnt on the job. Now he's one of the best managers in Europe. No top team would say no to him, regardless of what the fans say. I mean, yes, I kind of accept what you're saying. And Arsenal did keep him when they could easily have got rid of him, and maybe should have got rid of him a few years ago. And yes, he has learnt on the job. But the difference is he hasn't yet won that trophy, has he? Rene's won that trophy. And I think there's more pressure now on Rene because of that. Arteta's maybe, if Arteta, I mean, I know he won the FA Cup when he first came in, but if he'd say won the Premier League 3 seasons ago, and now he hadn't won it for the next 2-3 seasons after, there's more and more pressure. He's not under that same pressure now because he hasn't won it yet. And I think it's a different type of pressure. When you win trophies, the expectation is to win another one, because that's what everyone expects you to do. And if you haven't won one, everybody's still got this hope with Arteta that he will do it eventually, because he's got so close. He will do it eventually, and people are clinging on to that hope. As soon as he wins something, that's gone because he's done it and he's got to do it again, or he's a failure. And I think that Rene's now got to live with that fact that she's now done it, and if she doesn't do it again, not necessarily Champions League, but she doesn't keep winning trophies, then people are going to say that she's failed. More so because of the success that she's had. And sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes you can plod along and come second every year, and you're not under the same sort of pressure as when you win something, and then you don't win it again, and you don't win it again. Look what happened to Arsene Wenger when he went all those years without winning anything, or what he'd won before was forgotten about. You haven't won anything for 2 or 3 years. Suddenly you're under pressure. Everyone questions you. Arteta hasn't won anything all this time yet, and no one's questioning him really. He's got away with it, and I think that's why. And I think Rene's going to have the opposite problem because she has won a big trophy, and now she's got to live up to that expectation now. Joe says, give Rene at least another season. She's intelligent, calm, and I believe she has great tactical mind. Yeah, no, I do kind of agree with you. I just think that sometimes she's too. It's a too soft environment. I think sometimes the players are too comfortable, and you need those, like we said before, tough decisions. Is she going to make those tough decisions? I don't know. We'll see. She's we're going to find out a lot about Rene, aren't we, in the next year or so, certainly before the end of this season, because technically she's only got a contract to the end of this season at the moment, unless they extend it. But anyway, we can't, at this moment in time, she's a Champions League winner, and she'll remain the Champions League winner until we get knocked out of the tournament this season. If that happens, if we go all the way again, who knows? But, at the end of the day, she's done amazing. She's achieved something amazing for the club, and that will never be forgotten. But I think with it comes pressure that she's going to have to deal with. And so far this season, I'm not sure she's dealt with it particularly well, but she is learning, so let's give her time. But of course, we can't finish an end of year show without giving out some awards, because we love giving out awards on this show. And we've got a few, not too many, because we're only halfway through a season. I don't like to give out awards because we haven't won any. This is the year, we're halfway through a season and stuff like that. But we're going to look at it from the whole of 2025. We're going to start with one that may be fairly obvious choice, really, because there's not much competition, but we'll do it anyway. So, of course, the signing of the year, I suppose, really, ultimately, is probably going to come down to Chloe Kelly or Olivia Smith for the impact that they've had. Obviously, Chloe Kelly's impact in the sort of first half of 2025, and then obviously Olivia's impact in the second half of it once she signed. Personally, for me, I know she cost a lot of money, highest ever transfer fee, but she's young, she's got potential. Olivia Smith, for me, has to be the signing of 2025. So excited. We was shouting for her to be signed a year or two ago. So obviously we've got she's settling in now, looking really, really good. It has to be Olivia Smith, doesn't it, Andreas, really, for signing of the year?
Yeah, it's an easy choice, and it's Olivia. And when she signed in summer, we said it's a signing for the future, and I still stick with this. She has proved that she has her worth for the team right now with the goals she scored, and when she's 100% fit, she has a big impact on the team already with 21, 22 years young, and yeah, signing of the year, of course, Olivia Smith. I agree.
Yeah, I think it has to be, and let's hope that she goes on and proves to be the £1 million signing that we want her to be, and we expect her to be. Right, what else shall we do next? I want to leave the really obvious ones. I'll tell you what, we'll do the opposite then. The opposite of that last one. Now, I'm not blaming Jenna Nice-Wonga for maybe being in the running for flop of the year. She hasn't been given the opportunity to play for whatever reason. We're not sure. She joined us. I think a lot of people were quite excited about signing her. American international, fairly versatile player in a position that maybe we needed some cover for. Not quite sure what happened there. We still don't really know, do we? Obviously, something's gone wrong somewhere behind the scenes. I don't know how many appearances she's actually made this year, or in 2025, probably 3 or 4, maybe. A couple off the bench, a couple recently. What went wrong, do you think, with Jenna, Andreas? What do you think went wrong there? Because it doesn't make sense, does it, really?
Well, the question is, was she really a Renee signing, or was she an Arsenal signing, and Renee was the manager who had to take the players that Arsenal was signing? Difficult to say. And it's hard to call her the flop of the year, because she never had the real chance to prove how good she could be. I mean, she was rookie of the year in the NWSL, in the US League, best newcomer, and she was US international, so she can't be that bad. But it didn't work out. She doesn't fit to the Renee system. So yeah, but it's between Rosa Kafachi and Jenna Nice-Wonga. This hard word of flop of the year. Both didn't work out in this system. It's not that they are bad players, but yeah, maybe it's not working. Yeah, the same as we had with Catherine Cool. Sometimes you sign a really talented player who's a big prospect for the future, and it doesn't work out. And that's the situation with Jenna, and we should let her go in this January window. Would be the best for her and for her career to start anew. And I wish her all the best. And maybe in 12 months we will say, Jenna Nice-Wonga had such a brilliant development in her new club in the US or wherever. We should have kept her. Maybe. And then, but anyway, good luck to her. And it's that it didn't work out at the Arsenal.
Yeah, it is. I say I can't really understand exactly what went wrong. We'll never know. Yeah, what was it actually a Renee signing, or was it a player that was bought? Bearing in mind, she wasn't actually the manager at the time, technically. I don't know. It's a strange one, and yeah, we'll probably never know unless if she does leave, when she leaves, maybe Jenna might tell us. Come out in an interview and explain what happened. I don't know, but yeah, I don't blame her at all, because she's not played. We can't judge how good a player, what impact she may have had for us when she's not played. If she had played 10, 11, 12 games, we could have had a good look at her and think, well, actually, she's not quite the player we need. I'd have said, fair enough. We don't see what happens in training, but we can't make a decision, a judgment on her, really. It's just that she's come in, she's arrived as a new player and hasn't played, hardly played. She's hardly even on the bench. As far as we know, she wasn't injured. So it was obviously a footballing reasons, which we don't know about. It's all very strange for me, and I don't understand it. But unfortunately, Jenna, sorry, but you're going to have that award, because it's just not worked out for you. And as Andreas rightly said, I hope that you go on and have a great career, wherever else you go, because you don't know player. It's a short career anyway. No one wants to be wasting a big chunk of it sitting on the bench or not even being in the squad. I don't think that's the right thing for any player. So I hope she does leave in January. I hope she finds herself a club where she can be successful, because you want to see that. She seems like she's just, whatever reason it didn't work out, and we can only hope for her sake that her career can take back off again. Another one that maybe there could be a little bit of competition for this one. Actually, I'm quite excited about this. I mean, obviously, for significance, the goal of the year would obviously be the one in the picture there, Stina in the final. But that probably wasn't the actual best goal that we saw in 2025. I don't think it was. It was just the most significant, important one. A few choices, as always. I mean, Katie McCabe recently scored a great goal, didn't she? What game was that? Recent away game, wasn't it? Which she a fantastic goal. So that'll be a contender. For me, probably, I think the best goal was not only the fact it was such a great goal, but what it meant at the time was Mariona's in Lyon, the second goal just before half time, a brilliant strike, and obviously the significance of that goal we've spoken about already. And I think for those two reasons, that probably, I don't want to take it off Stina because she probably deserves it for the importance of that goal, but in terms of quality and what it meant at the time, I think Mariona's goal against Lyon's probably would be my choice for goal of the year. But there's probably a few you could give it to. What would be your choice, Andreas, for goal of the year?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, the most important goal will forever be Stina's in the final. Mariana's was important, but maybe the best goal was Olivia Smith against London City. This was a brilliant strike, and also an important goal. We were 1-0 down. She scored the equalizer, and it was for her to prove her value and worth and to settle in was important, and it was a really beautiful goal. So just to have a third goal in this competition, I say Olivia Smith against LCL.
Yeah, no, that's a great. In fact, Olivia Smith against Liverpool as well was not a bad one either, was it? She's got a couple of good goals already. No, that was a great goal, and like you said again, that was an important goal in the nature of that game, wasn't it? Because we were losing at the time, and it turned that game around, and that was her debut as well. And what when you've come along as the most expensive player, I think it's vital for your own confidence that you start well at your new club, and for her to get that goal on her debut, I think was the perfect moment for her, and it was a good goal. Yeah, that definitely deserves a mention because that was a great shot. So I thought Katie McCabe's goal recently was a great goal as well, when she banged it with her left foot across the keeper into the corner. That was the first goal in that game as well. Who was that against?
Was it away at Everton?
Hey, it was Everton. That's right. That's right, because that was the first goal at Everton. Yeah, that was a good goal. I just enjoyed that one. And Katie McCabe doesn't score so many these days, but when she does get them, they're generally pretty special. And that was a special one as well. So I think that deserves a mention just because it was such a good strike. First time, left foot across the keeper into the far corner was a brilliant goal. But I still think Mariona's goal was just fantastic. And the semi-final put us in front. I don't know. I knew that would be a difficult one to pick one because there's so many goals that were good for so many different reasons. I suppose really we should give it to Stina just because of that goal was the goal of the year because it what it gave us. So I suppose we'll give it to Stina because it's Stina at the end of the day, and that goal was obviously quite an important one. We'll do one now that again maybe probably won't have much competition, but it's worth talking about. So, of course, the breakthrough star of the year, if you like. I mean, obviously, Katie Reid in the picture. I think until her injury, I don't think there's much doubt that she was our breakthrough player of the year coming into the team at the start of this season on a more regular basis because of, obviously, Leah's injury and stuff and settling into the team. What I particularly liked about Katie Reid early in the season was in that very first game, we talked about London City Lionesses, she conceded a penalty very, very early in that game. And it would have been easy for her confidence to go and for her to make mistake after mistake after mistake. You've seen it with young defenders before. The fact that that's pretty much been one of very, very few mistakes that she made all season, I think that shows, one, her character, and to the quality that she's shown. And she is, I know she's obviously going to be out for a long time, and we know ACL injuries can be really tough to come back from. But I think she's young enough to be able to recover well. The future for Katie Reid, for me, is fantastic. But obviously, we can't mention a breakthrough without talking about Michelle Agyemang. The breakthrough wasn't really with Arsenal, as it was it. It was more with England, the impact of the Euros. But obviously, we know, again, injury, the same injury for her. Unbelievable, really. But I think both of those two are going to be absolute superstars for, hopefully, for Arsenal and for England as well. I know Katie was unlucky, wasn't she, to miss out on her England, what would have been her England debut with the first injury that she got. I mean, Andreas, I think it's fairly clear that Katie Reid probably should win this award for Arsenal, although I say Michelle Agyemang had what an impact she made in 2025 as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. For the Lionesses, it's Michelle Agyemang, and for Arsenal, it's Katie Reid. And we can only hope that both come back as soon as possible, for the whole preparation for the new season, and that they will be fit for in September for the new season. I don't see them back in May. It's pity, both young players which had a fantastic breakthrough and both the same brutal injury, ACL. But if they come back, the way they played before, and especially Katie Reid in our defense, then her future is bright, and she has a big future ahead at the Arsenal. I hope so. Terrible injury, but fantastic season until then, and hope for a good comeback for both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's all we can hope for both of them now, isn't it? That they recover well. And, you know, I say we have seen, haven't we, unfortunately, so many times with that particular injury that it can take a long time to get back to your best. The good news is for both of them, they're very young and they've got a lot of time on their hands. You know, some of the other players that we've seen with these injuries were at the other end of their career, and it's more difficult then, isn't it, to come back, and because your career is, you know, if you lose a year or a year and a half of your career when you're in your mid-20s, late 20s, there's not much left after that. Whereas with these two, they're still teenagers, they're very young. Even if they have to take a year and a half to come back, they've still got their whole career ahead of them. So, you know, I'm sure that it won't have such an impact on both of them. Being younger as well, I think maybe you heal a bit quicker as well. Maybe when you're younger, perhaps, obviously, the treatment, we know what we're doing when it comes to ACLs at Arsenal, don't we? So I'm sure they'll get the best possible treatment that they can. I'm sure they'll both come back strong. But yeah, it has been a great year for our young players, hasn't it? Actually, in 2025, you know, two players that are going to become, you know, I think they're going to become two of England's most important players over the next few years. And it's great that they've come through from our academy. They're our players, and you know, it's always slightly better, isn't it? Nicer when you see one of your own players like Leah Williamson, for example, you know, coming through the ranks, coming through the system, and not only performing well for the club, but then going on to England. And, you know, I mean, to see Leah Williamson lifting those trophies for England, you know, knowing that she's come through Arsenal, you know, Katie Reid can follow a similar pathway. If Michelle Agyemang can follow a similar pathway, it's great, isn't it? And it'll be fantastic for Arsenal as a club. It'll be great for us to see that their development. But it's unfortunate they both not been able to play. They're going to be out for a while, but yeah, 2025 will always be the year of those young Arsenal players, and you know, hopefully there'll be a few more years left for them to come back and, you know, perform as well again. Right, what shall we do now? There's a couple left. Obviously, actually we'll do this because again, this could be one that might have more than just the obvious. I mean, I think obviously, you know, most of the moments of the year will be attached to the Champions League, the final, or certainly the part of that competition. But I just wanted to throw that in there. Katie McCabe, obviously, at the celebration, that was quite a moment, that wasn't it? With her getting up on the stage and singing and stuff like that was quite funny. I did enjoy that as well. But obviously, I suppose there's only one real moment of the year, I suppose, isn't there? I guess. Well, I don't know. You could break it down. Is it Stina's goal going in? Is it, you know, Kim going up to get the trophy? You know, is it those celebrations? I think all the different moments are probably connected to that day, though, aren't they? I don't think there's much else that we can really put in there. But what would be your actual, if you put one moment from the whole year, what would it be?
Yeah, for me, both finals I attended in the stadium. So it was the final whistle in Lisbon, and then the final penalty in Basel. Moments of the year and moments for eternity. And for Arsenal, of course, when the final whistle blew in Lisbon, and realizing that we have just won the Champions League and made this impossible thing possible. Yeah, that's of course the moment of the year, and everything what came after this, lifting the trophy, celebrating, and the celebration at the Emirates the day after. Yes, but the final whistle in Lisbon is the moment of the year.
Yeah, I think it has to be, doesn't it? Really, for me, yeah, I would say knowing that we've done it. Yeah, that is. Although I don't know. I mean, just seeing the ball hit the back of the net in the final, knowing it was quite close towards the end of the game as well. That was an unbelievable moment as well, because I never thought we were going to score. Really, I don't know, but yeah, I suppose knowing. I don't know, seeing the trophy lifted, seeing us with that trophy, that's a special moment as well, isn't it? I mean, so many moments from that whole kind of day, really. So it's difficult to pick one, yeah, but just knowing that we were champions of Europe, all of that, really fantastic. I'll say I did love that celebration at the Emirates. That was really, really good. The interviews with the players and the songs and all that kind of stuff. It was just great, wasn't it? And the fact that more fans could get there to witness that couldn't get to the game. So that was really nice. So that was a good moment as well, I thought. And I thought the club did well with that as well. I thought that was well organised. They actually put a good job into that, really. So, they maybe didn't do such a good job screening the final, because they could have done a better job with that. Instead of just having it in club level on the screen, they could have had it on the pitch. But anyway, despite that, I'd say that they did really well for that. So, but yeah. Well, we've got two left. One of them is going to be obvious, but will there be one or two others? Maybe there might be a couple of suggestions for this. I mean, obviously the final was a match of the year. I don't think there's much question about that. But, we mentioned it earlier. I thought the Real Madrid second leg, that was pretty special, wasn't it? The Lyon away leg was pretty special as well. So it wasn't just that one game that was so memorable. But obviously we can't look anywhere other than the final, can we, for match of the year? It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that a Champions League final and winning Champions League final is the match of the year. But if we say give this award to any other game except the final, then I would choose the Real Madrid home game. Maybe Lyon was more important because it gave us the place in the final, but the Real Madrid game for me is because I was there in the stadium and felt the atmosphere and this special second half when we discussed it earlier that in this second half against Real Madrid, the confidence in the team grew that they can make it within the team and within us, the supporters. Everybody who was there for the Madrid game saw everything is possible. And so if we keep the final bit out for this award, I'd say it's the Real Madrid game, the match of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose really, if we were to take the final out of all the awards, we'd probably get different winners because it's going to win everything. But no, I mean, you're right. I mean, the Madrid game was, I say that was a game for me that I think gave the belief to everybody that it was possible. Not that we would do it, but that it was possible. Anything was possible after that Madrid game. And I think it'd be difficult to look beyond that if we're looking for an alternative to the final, obviously. Yeah, I thought the Lyon away performance was just an unbelievable game. The way that we played in difficult circumstances, losing the first leg and stuff was impressive. But I just think that the Madrid game probably tops that. I agree. I do think that second half in particular was probably the best 45 minutes of football I'll say I've can remember from any Arsenal team. Just unbelievable. So yeah, I think Madrid would probably be, obviously the Barcelona game is going to be the match of the year, but a worthy runner-up, if you like, would definitely be Madrid at home. I don't think there's much doubt about that. A lot of the home games were good, though, weren't they? Tottenham at home was a great game, wasn't it? It's always a laugh beating them by a lot of goals. That was a great performance. Obviously, the Man United game at the end had lots of drama going on, lots of goals and excitement. That was a decent game as well. I mean, obviously, lots of games. Even this season, I suppose, in the last half of the year, which hasn't been anywhere near as exciting, has had its moments, hasn't it? There's been some good games, exciting games. Some great goals. A couple of the Champions League games were pretty decent. A couple of good goals there, but yeah, it's difficult to look past Madrid and Barcelona for game of the year. Now, this is going to be the last award. It's obviously the most prestigious award. It always is the most prestigious award in any award ceremony, and I think it's not as clear cut as it could be. So, player of the year. Now, of course, if it was player of last season, we know who the winner was. We already decided that. The picture there kind of gives that away. But if we look at the whole of 2025 as a year, from January to December, Mariona's performances, obviously, since the start of this season, are not just her fault. The position in the team has changed, has dropped off. So, would we look elsewhere for the player of 2025? I think that's the question we need to ask, because I think, Mariona's impact this year has been incredible. We know that. But has she done enough in the whole of the 12 months to warrant being player of the year? What do you think, Andreas? Who would you give that to?
If you say this from January to May, then it's Mariona. No doubt, no discussion. But from January to end of December, it's Alessia Russo for me. Her overall performance, scoring so many important goals, and the impact she has on every game, her work rate and her technical abilities. Once again, important goals. So overall, over 12 months, it's Alessia Russo. For the run to the Champions League, it was Mariona, and we had a lot of important players. Daphne in this run to the Champions League, Leah Williamson coming back to her best just when we needed her. We saw how important Kim Little is also over 12 months. She's still maybe the most important player of the team, and that's one of our problems. That 35-year-old player is the most important player of the team. But for the period of 2025, January to December, my choice is Alessia Russo for the player of the season, player of the year. Sorry.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's probably quite difficult to disagree too much with that. She's been consistent I don't think she's quite been as good this season. Like we said before, not many players have improved this season compared to last, maybe. But I think Alessia Russo has been consistent all the way through. She had a good Euros in the middle as well, didn't she? Scoring some important goals, scored in the final, of course, as we know. And she has been consistent with her performances. She's had to play in a couple of different positions in the team as well, at different times. And although she didn't score in the final, I thought her performance in the final was really good actually as well, when she was on. So yeah, it's difficult to maybe disagree with that. I have to say, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Daphne as well, because I think I know she had a lot of injury issues, and especially towards the end of last season when, like you said, she was playing with injections and stuff. I think her impact has been really, really important this year as well. We saw when obviously Manu was sort of playing regular beforehand, what a liability that she could be, and how important having a good goalkeeper is, a top quality goalkeeper, consistent goalkeeper. And I think Daphne's been so important for us in the success that we've had in the last couple of seasons with her as the goalkeeper. And you can see, I think this year she's been brilliant, really, really has been good. So yeah, I'm glad that she got a mention. Actually, I forgot, a lot of people putting comments in when we were talking about the the awards. LG says, I hate when commentators always refer to Liv as just a £1 million player. It's like she's been confined to that with his way. No, but I think it's because she's the first one, you know, and it's always going to, it's like when the men's game, when Trevor Francis became the first £1 million player, that was always mentioned. It'll always be mentioned because she's the first one. What will happen is, obviously, eventually, players will be sold for a lot more money than that, and then no one will mention it again. But for the time being, it's a big issue, and it's only temporary. It won't always be like that. But yeah, there is a lot more to it than that. Ryan said, I don't think Renee gets on with Jenna, not as a person, just doesn't fit the system. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is as simple as that. Joe says, I also don't think that was Renee signing. She was only interim manager. Yeah, but you're probably right. John says, I'm concerned for Bjorn. Club confirmed hamstring injury today, and she was training in Portugal with the rest of the team. Oh, well, there you go, you see. LG says, players need to go to create space for new signings. Man United could have had Sadio Mane, but he didn't sign because they still had aging players like Rooney, Van Persie. Yeah, you're right. We do have to get rid of players as well. Joe says, Liv Smith's first goal for us. Yeah, there you go. That's one of the goals. Yeah. Matthew says, I'm rather frustrated. Hang on, let me get that. That not many youngsters seem to be getting chances and having to leave, while most of the vets are just not up to speed. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I do think in women's teams it's maybe a little bit more difficult to throw youngsters in so early, but we've had two that have made a big impact. I think we've got to be happy about that. I think LG's gone for Liv's goal against Liverpool as well. That's been a popular choice. Lethal Chicken's gone Mariona v Leon. Yeah, I think they're the two, aren't they? That's probably going to be the two goals. Joe says, Reed, what a future baller to take over from Leah in a few years. We're lucky to have her. Absolutely, yeah. I just hope that she recovers from her injury well. Ryan says, Reed looks a confident player, should be a good player for the future. Absolutely. Joe says, I'd like to award a special mention to Mido for her year of the great comeback. Yeah, to be fair, that's a fair shout, actually, because she's got better and better in 2025 as it's gone on, hasn't she? And like we said, she's had a really good start to this season. So, yeah, we'll give a shout out to Mido as well. I don't know what award we could give her. Comeback of the year. Although she was playing before, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we'll find something for her, I'm sure. Joe says, that game at the Emirates against Real Madrid was the best atmosphere ever. A 0-0 at half-time, and we all believed we could do it. Joe says, after seeing Montemuro's face, he wasn't very happy, was he? Oh, poor old Joe. He didn't enjoy that one, did he? The player of the year has to be Russo. Without I don't think we're looking for it. Yeah, I think Russo probably is. Joe, is it still Mario? Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I think her impact is still being felt in the team, even though she's not as influential as she was. Greg says, DVD being fit for the final was the boost we needed to win. Well, it was essential that she was fit for the final, wasn't it? Let's be honest. She did make a couple of good saves in that game as well, of course. Joe says, as a number 9, Russo is probably the hardest, most impactful one across the league. With that, she has to probably give up the golden boot for the good of the team. Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I think as an overall player, she's much better than any other number 9. I agree 100% with that. Because a number 9 isn't her only the only thing that she can do. You know, you look at Bunny Shaw, for example, Steamer. They're goal scorers, aren't they? They're fantastic goal scorers, but they don't bring all the other kind of things that Leslie Russo brings. You can play Leslie Russo anywhere, and she's going to have an impact because of what an intelligent, great football player she is. Player in the number 9. I still think that she should score more goals when she's in that number 9. I do. She doesn't get in the box enough for me. She's maybe on the edge of things. She wants to drop deeper to get the ball. She goes wide a lot. She's not always in the goal scoring positions enough for me. I think if she was to get into the positions that Stina gets into, for example, she'd probably score an extra 10 goals every season. You know, she'd be golden boot winner every day. But that's not her game, is it? Her game's to be involved. And when you're involved, you want to be involved in the game. You're probably not going to score as many goals. And that's the only criticism of her, really, because she should score, with how great she is as a player, she should score more goals than she does. She scores a lot, but she should score a lot more, really. You know, she should be getting Viv's kind of numbers, really, with how good she is, I think. But anyway, you know, I agree. I do think that she does maybe sacrifice some of her potential goals for the good of the team. And that's a great quality to have, because she still ends up being top scorer, and she still ends up, being one of the greatest players in the league. So, yeah, I think it's difficult to argue with Leslie Russo being player of 2025. I don't think it's the only other player for me that you could give an argument to would be Stina, because she scored the winning goal in the final, and she always comes off the bench and grabs a goal. But obviously, I suppose I would say it's probably a straight choice between obviously Mariona and Leslie, probably. Yeah, over the course of the whole year, I kind of agree. I do think Leslie's probably just going to shade it for her consistency and the goals that she scored, and great Euros that she had as well. Greg says she'd score more goals if our wingers created more for. Well, yeah, that's a point as well. Although sometimes Chloe Kelly's whip them balls in, unless he's not there because she's somewhere else, to get on the end of them. So sometimes it's a little bit, I don't know, a bit of both. LG says, I disagree with your take, Buddy Shaw. You clearly don't watch her every week. She is much more than just a goal scorer. She's even better than Leslie in terms of playing with bats. No, I think she holds the ball up. And number 9, for me, what a good number 9 should do is, obviously they should be scoring goals, of course, but also they need to be able to play with their back to goal and hold the play up. That to me, that's standard for a number 9. And Buddy Shaw can do that. Of course she can. That's what she is. She's one of the best number 9s there is. And she's probably better than Leslie in that one aspect of being a number 9. I agree. I think Stina's better as an out-and-out number 9 than Leslie is as a number 9. But what Leslie brings elsewhere, Bunny Shaw's nowhere near that level of Leslie elsewhere. She's a better just number 9 only. I agree. Holding the ball up, playing her back to goal, scoring goals. Yes, Bunny Shaw is better. But what Leslie can do everywhere else, Leslie can still score the goals. But what she does everywhere else, Bunny Shaw's, Leslie's a much better all-round player. But I'm not saying Bunny Shaw's not good. She's a great number 9. Absolutely, she is. She's probably the best number 9 in the league. Leslie's more than the number 9, though, isn't she? She's almost like a 9 and a bit more. You see what I mean? Not a 10, because the position of 10 is something else, but she's more than a 9, isn't she? Bunny Shaw's just a 9, and she's good at it. Stina's just a 9. That's it. Leslie is a 9 plus lots more as well, and I think that's what gives her the edge. I suppose having both of them would be quite nice, wouldn't it? But I still think I'd rather have Stina than Bunny Shaw personally, because Stina's going to be your backup. I don't think you can have Bunny Shaw and Leslie together, because Bunny Shaw's not going to be a backup, is she? She's just not. And then where would Leslie play? You can't have both of them together. I don't think that would work. So I would rather have Stina than Bunny Shaw with our team. Well, we've got Leslie, but anyway. There you go. But yeah, I think we'll give it to Leslie then. He's going to get player of 2025. Fully deserved for her, because I think she's been consistent throughout the year. And I'm sure we're going to see, she's maybe not been quite as good this part of the year as everybody else, but I think we're going to see much better things from Leslie Russo in 2026. Everyone, I think everybody will come back firing. So, of course, just before we finish then, it is January, transfer window. Who are we going to buy? Are we going to buy anybody? And if we do, who are we going to buy? Who should we buy? What position should we look for to fill? It's not the biggest transfer window, really. You're not going to make loads of stuff. Andreas, who do you think we should buy in January to get us a good chance for all these trophies that we can win?
Most need is a holding midfielder. But we won't sign one. I don't think we'll sign a midfielder in January. And when you read the interview with Lia Walti, when she said she had the feeling that Arsenal doesn't want to play with a old-fashioned number 6, and I think this is Renee's system. She doesn't want a number 6 in her team, and I think when they discuss signings with Renee, she will say, I don't need a midfielder. We have enough midfielders in our team. For me, we should look for number 6. There is a lot of talk about Sam Coffey from the USA, or Elisa Sens from Frankfurt. Bayern Munich is going for her, trying to sign her in January. I don't think she will leave, but there are rumors around her. So we should look for a holding midfielder as most important target. And we don't know the injury situation from Daphne. Now we called Naomi Williams back from loan, so I don't think we'll sign a goalkeeper. Probably we will finish the signing of Smilla Holmberg from Sweden as a right back. This gives me a few concerns that maybe Emily Fox doesn't want to extend or sign a new contract in summer. I don't see us do a lot of business in January, and that's another missed chance because the team needs a rebuild, and you can't let 7-8 players go in summer and sign 8 new players. That's then you have to throw away the next season and say we have to rebuild during the next season. So we are doing a mistake once again. We did one in summer, and we are doing one in January if we don't sign 2-3 players, a midfielder, maybe a centre back, or maybe a young winger if on the market. But we should do more than one signing of a backup right back.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of a right back because we don't really, obviously Taylor Hines has played there when Emily's had a rest, and I think we do need a backup right back. And I don't think it's anything to do with necessarily Emily Fox not signing. I think it's more to do with the fact we don't have a natural right back as cover. I say obviously Taylor can do a job there, and she's done quite well when she's played there. But I would rather have a natural right back there, and I think that would be a sensible signing from that respect. I mean, yeah, I think the midfield is the area that we've all looked at. Obviously, Kyra's form coming into Christmas has been so good that might have even further put that kind of question mark for Renee. If she doesn't want to sign that type of player anyway, the fact that Kyra's come in and done so well might think, you know what, we're probably okay for that position now till the end of the season. I don't agree. I would like to see us sign someone, but yeah, that may be you may be right. That may not be the position that we sign. I mean, if you look elsewhere in the team, I mean, you could say if you're a top team and you want to be challenging, you need to look to try and strengthen everywhere because that's how you be successful. It's no good look at we've got 2 players who can play on the right wing. Yeah, but if we can get a better one, get a better one. That's what I always say. But I'm not sure if it's priorities. If we're looking between now and the end of the season to get the players in that we need, we've got a lot of competitions now that we're in with a big chance of. We've got obviously the World Club thingy, World Cup thing to play. So that's extra games. Obviously, we've got a semi-final to come in the Subway Cup. We've got the FA Cup starting up, and of course the Champions League as well with a playoff game, and hopefully the knockouts beyond that. A lot of games, and we do seem to have gaps in the squad. And I think I personally would like to see us really sign at least 3 players, really in January, to make sure that we're reinforcing the squad and the team between now and the end of the season, and then maybe do another 4 or 5 in the summer. What the men have done last summer. Bring in some players. We need to do it. We need to rebuild the squad. But yeah, I think a centre back would be, with Katie Reid's injury. I think another centre back is essential, really, as a backup at least. I don't think Steph Catley. She's done well there, but I don't really think you're gonna. I don't think you're gonna be one of the top teams in Europe when you've got Steph Catley. I'm sorry, I like Steph. I think she's great, but she's not a natural centre back. I'd like to see her get a centre back in. Obviously, Leah's coming back, so she's going to play more. But I don't know. I would like to see a centre back come in. Obviously, a midfielder, and then obviously the right back anyway. I think that's obvious, and then maybe another player, a forward player, a wide player, just to give us a bit more options, really, because we can be a little bit sort of predictable with our substitution. It'd be nice to have someone who can come off the bench and do something a bit different. I mean, Livy kind of gives us a little bit of that. LLG says there we need a pace and height in the team. A lot of our players play with the same slow tempo. Yeah, what I'd like to see is talking about sort of height in particular. I'd like to see a defender like Raffaello we had a couple of years ago. I'd like a dominant defender in the air who can win all the headers and can score goals as well. And I'd kind of like to see a defender like that. Not that there's too many around, probably. But anyway, John says I can't see there being many top level players being available in January unless there's a release clause to trigger. But we know Arsenal doesn't like going for these causes. Yeah, don't forget as well that you've got, say, in America, for example, it's their off season now, isn't it? So their season's finished, and there's an opportunity for players that are at the end of the season. We can make, I know American players haven't always worked out for us, but there are players that are going to become available. There's a good point here from Joe. I'd like to see Ruby Mace in the six. She's had a good season, actually, isn't she? Ruby Mace, you have to say. Obviously, we had her once, didn't we, when she was young, and she's gone and done really well. I don't think that'll happen, actually. But, yeah, no, I agree. She's a great player, actually, Ruby Mace. I do like her. Greg says, we need a left-sided attacker who can cross the ball. At the moment, we've got Ford, who thinks she's better than what she is. A little bit harsh. Joe says Ford is great. Yeah, we don't mind Ford. Greg says KCC is hit and miss. We need consistency. No, yeah, that's true. I agree with that as well. And Greg says Ford is rubbish. I don't think she's rubbish, but, yeah, we could do with someone a bit more consistent. I agree. John says we could spend 35 million on players and it would only be the equivalent of buying one player for the men's team. The number of women's players we could get for 35 million. Oh, yeah, you could literally build a whole team, couldn't you? Quite honestly, a whole squad from scratch for 35 million in the women's team. Quite honestly, you could. Ryan says, hopefully skating for the next one because, yeah, I'm sure there'll be a few. LG says, City have a Jamaican, Brazilian, and Japanese in there too. Well, they've got a few Japanese, haven't they? Most of our players are of European or English-speaking background. Having players of diverse cultural backgrounds improves team dynamics. If they're the right ones, yes. I don't think you can look at it and say, well, because Man City have got a Brazilian and Japanese in their squad, we need to buy some Brazilians and Japanese or have more diverse cultural players. Yes, I'm not saying that wouldn't be a bad thing. It's the right ones, though, isn't it? The ones that Man City have got are very, very good and fit in with their team, don't they? If we can do the same, brilliant. I don't care where a player comes from. I'm not bothered what country they're from. As long as they're the right player for us and can do a job in our team and make us better, that's absolutely fine. I don't care if they're Jamaican or they're Brazilian, they're English, they're from Europe. Anyway, I don't care. If they're what we need and they're going to improve us, let's get them in. And if it means they're all from a European culture, that's the way it is. And if they're all from a different culture, that's fine as well. Let's just get the right players. That's what I say. Greg says, I'm talking about Ford. She wastes so many chances to get the ball in the middle, and when she does, it's always fast. No, I agree. I think our final ball needs to improve, but I would like to see us bring another wide player in, say a central midfielder, a central defender, and we're going to get a right back. That'd be a good January for me if they're the right players. That'd be a good January, but let's see. But that's more for 2026. Although it is 2026 at the minute now, we are going to be looking ahead to that. Of course, the WSL is back next weekend, isn't it? Of course, the break is over. We are back with a big one as well. Manchester United. Wow, what a way to return to the WSL. So we will be back. Are you flying over on Friday?
Yes. I will be okay Friday.
Thursday you'll be okay, will you?
Thursday would be okay, yes.
Let's do Thursday next week. Yeah, we can do Thursday. So we'll do Thursday next week. We'll look into the return of the WSL, the Manchester United game, and hopefully maybe a new signing or so to talk about as well. That'd be nice, wouldn't it, if they get their finger out and get bodies through the door. So join us for that. Of course, it's there's no games coming up, unfortunately, till then, but gives us an extra week to put our feet up and enjoy the new year and stuff like that, which I'm sure 2026 will it top 2025. It's going to have a hard job to do that, isn't it? Let's be honest, with what we've talked about tonight and what we've experienced in 2025. But who knows? There's still a lot to play for in 2026 for this team. We've got a lot of competitions. We can still end up having a really, really special year again. And hopefully when we look back this time next year on 2026, we'll have a load more great memories as well. I'm sure we will. LG says, we talk about Ford needing to improve, but will a 31-year-old player ever improve? It's probably time to move on. She's not a young prospect. No, I agree. I wouldn't necessarily say we need to necessarily get rid of her in January. I don't think we will, but we do need to look at getting in new players. Absolutely, I agree. But then Livy Smith's going to be playing that position more anyway now, isn't she? I think on that left-hand side. So, but there you go. Dave says Claire is a terrible sports director. Yeah, maybe she is. Claire Wheatley. She does get a lot of stick, poor Claire, doesn't she? But maybe deservedly so. Greg says hopefully a return next week as long as we don't get the predicted snow Friday in London. Yeah, I mean obviously weather. To be fair though, I don't think many games have ever been called off at the Emirates because of snow. I think I can remember one. I was halfway down the motorway when it got called off and had to turn around and go back. That was a men's game a few years ago. But yeah, I don't think it'll be called off. But anyway, let's hope not. So yeah, that is it for 2025. It's gone over and done with. A great year it was as well. I want to thank all you guys for obviously joining us this year on the channel, watching along, all your comments, everything else, and so thank you for that. Hope you all have a really, really enjoyable 2026. It's a good year for everyone, and hopefully, I say we'll be back here next year, looking back on another great year. I'm sure we will. Of course, Andreas, have you enjoyed being back with us again? Of course, into the new year now, 2026, another year to look forward to.
Yeah, of course. I enjoyed being part of the show and looking back on a fantastic year, and looking forward to a new year and being part of the show for 2026 is just great for me. And hopefully bringing some matchday vlogs during the year, and looking forward to everything.
I mean, that's been one of the highlights of 2025. Actually, some of them vlogs have been amazing. Actually, so that's been a highlight as well. Joe says I can't wait to be at the Emirates next weekend. Womp United in readiness for the Cup semi-final. Yeah, let's beat them twice in a couple of weeks. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? That would be a really good start to the year, wouldn't it? LG says Claire doesn't help herself by always being in the background. She needs to be more transparent and open up a bit more about what her role exactly is. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's what she does need to do, perhaps. But yeah, John says, thanks, Richard Andreas. Keep up with good work. Have a great year doing it. And I say thank you to all you guys for being with us, because I say it wouldn't be much of a show without you guys with it. So thank you very much for everyone who's watched the show this year, who's liked, who's put comments in, subscribe to the channel, everything else. And I say we hope to get a few more of you joining us in 2026 as well. So we'll be back on Thursday. Don't forget, it's going to be Thursday next week for the show, looking ahead to the big return Man United game. Big game, massive game, actually, isn't it? Let's be honest. Look at that league table. Look how big that game is. You know, we can get some pull away from them. They can go back above us. So it's one of them 6-pointer games, isn't it? Massive game. What a way to start the new year. It's going to be incredible, isn't it? So make sure you join us on Thursday. We'll look ahead to that. And yeah, we look forward to 2026. So 2025 is done and dusted. It's been a blast. It's been a great year. Thank you to Estina and Renee and all the girls for producing that great moment in May for us. And also, of course, for the Lionesses as well for giving us such a great summer. It's been a great year, hasn't it? Memories that will last forever. But 2026 is going to be even better, isn't it? Come on, it is. It's going to be better. Not that it can be better. It can be as good, I suppose. It's difficult to top that, isn't it? But we'll join you all for that. Thank you for watching. Thanks to Andreas, of course. Thank you to all you guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Happy New Year, everyone. Come on, you Gunners. Let's make it a good one, eh?
Thank you. Bye.